Hello, welcome back to another live. My name is Laken, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to chat all about your goals. And I am so excited to be here again this week to finish up our conversation on accountability. But before we get into the topic, and actually, quite frankly, a lot of other things I have planned to talk about today, there's some pre-submitted questions. I have a lot to talk about today. But let's start with our first question, which is, what is one small win that you have to share from the last week? If you're here live, please say hello in the chat and let us know what your win is. And if you're a part of the replay fam, please say hello in the comments and let us know what you are doing or multitasking while you're watching the replay. I know a lot of you tend to use it as more of a podcast style, and I always try to do my best to repeat the question to make sure that you don't have to be staring at my face the entire time. But let us know what your win is as well. While I wait for some of those comments to come in, I will share my win this week is staying on top of party prep. Our little girl turns 1 on Sunday, and we are having a birthday party, which, as we've discussed before, is very much just for the adults. The first birthday party is way more for the adults than the kid, but that is my win for the week. I feel good about where we're at. We still have a lot to do before Sunday, but like what we have left, I feel like we've got this and it's going to be good. So hello from Texas. Welcome. You started a new workout routine. That is awesome. Congrats. I also thought I'd mention I have a cup of coffee today. I did not sleep well last night. I've said this before, but I'm really working on not having as much caffeine. And so if my sleep score for my Oura Ring is above a certain number, I don't have a second cup of coffee, which means most of the lives, even though it's still and forever always lattes with Laken, I have been having tea most of the time, but I didn't sleep well, which is not good, but it means I get a second cup of coffee today. I also think about what I have going on later in the evening when I think about the amount of caffeine I'm going to have. And we have plans tonight as a family. We're doing our fantasy football draft and hanging out. And so I'm not going to be like going to bed at my early hour anyways. So got your weights ready to work out. First chorus practice. That is so fun. Jennifer submitted your application for grad school. Brittany, congrats. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh, sending you all the good vibes. Had some unexpected income this month. Used it to pay off a balance that we put off. And after being too tired to read, you're 25% through the first Outlander book. That's amazing. That first trimester, like reading, it just put me to sleep. Like I'm just tired, too tired. So that's amazing. All righty. Well, speaking of reading, let's move right in to, I actually technically finished my reading goal. And when I say technically, it does not need to be as complicated, but if you have been around, let me quickly recap that for reading this year, I had decided to get specific, and I decided to pick 20 specific books that I was going to read this year. And so I set my goal at 20 books. Well, the nonfiction ones are taking me a little bit longer to get through than the fiction ones. So when I say I technically finished my reading goal, I finished 20 books. I'm done. I've hit 20. I've read 20 books. So according to like the little Goodreads celebration thing, I hit my goal for the year. But I have not finished the 20 books that I've picked. I've finished 14 of those. So I'm still making progress. It is still possible that I hit those final books before the end of the year, but it's also possible that I don't. But I feel really good about where I'm at with reading. I feel like learned a lot this year about what is important to me in terms of reading. And so that feels good. So according to Goodreads, I've hit my goal. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop reading for the year. I am going to continue reading, partially to hopefully get through those 20 books that I picked. But even if I don't get through all of those, I still want to continue reading because I like it. I like reading. So the book that I finished was the third book. I just realized I didn't take the percentage off of the, whoa, computer, what are you doing there? Can't push it down too far and you'll see the disaster of a mess that is behind me right now. My office is a mess. I finished the third Court of Thorns and Roses book. Y'all, I actually even more so stand by my, last week somebody asked me who my favorite character was, and I said more, and I actually even more so stand by that this week. After finishing this book, but it was good. I really, really liked it. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. I didn't give it, I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, which by the way, my Goodreads link is always in the description. I have it public, except you have to accept people, and I'm not always good. I literally this morning went in and like accepted a bunch of people. So I apologize if you were one of those people that was waiting for me to accept you on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like I'm really picky with 5 stars. I feel like 5 stars has to be like, everybody would like this book, and I recommend this book to everybody. I think this was a great book, but if you don't like this particular genre, then it's not for necessarily everybody. And then, of course, I moved right into the 4th book, which is so much smaller. By the way, y'all, speaking of books, we have a new Barnes & Noble in our neighborhood that just opened. Oh my gosh, it smells like heaven, literally heaven. And they just did such a beautiful job. It's fantastic. It's a small footprint, which makes sense given like that a lot of people buy stuff online as opposed to going in person, but it's still so beautiful. And I saw these books, like the physical copies of these books. I've done all of them on Kindle. I don't have a physical one. They're huge. These books are huge. And so it made me feel so much better when I thought about how long it took me to get through some of them. But the 4th one is like a tiny little baby book in between. I don't even think it's actually, Goodreads actually calls it like book 3.5. Like it's not even like a technical book, but that's the one I'm on. I'm already made a lot of progress on it because it's such a quick read. I think I'm on like chapter 4, but yet I'm 13% of the way through it according to my Kindle. So that feels really good. I had multiple goosebump moments, and yeah, oh my gosh, I know, me too. So good. I couldn't read the physical copy because it was so thick. It's just literally huge. And then in terms of nonfiction, I'm still chugging through my audio version of The Gap and the Gain. That's going well. I'm really glad that I switched over to audio for this book. All right, let me check in with the comments real quick. This is so tough. Having surgery tomorrow for a wrist fracture, had to make a big decision for myself and weigh the pros and cons. You cannot write in your planner. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry to hear that. I hope that your surgery goes smoothly. All righty, let's move into my monthly goal check-in. So here are my August goals. It feels weird to check in with this again when I've already filmed the goal check-in video for this. So I talk in depth about each one of those in that goal check-in video. I'm still struggling with that because like I filmed that video over a week ago and you're not going to see it till Monday, but yet here I am, like, here are my goals. And so like, it feels redundant. I don't know. I'm still struggling with it, but here's the check-in. I also think it is helpful for you to see this every single week and see that I am making progress on some things, not on other things. I blew right past my Instagram limit the last 2 days. I've been so focused these last 2 days. Like Monday, Tuesday, between party prep and work, I've gotten a lot done. Because I have a very busy September coming up, but then by the end of the day, I just need to like disassociate in Instagram and like scroll on Instagram. I also feel like there's something about like, what would I do instead? Well, instead I would pick up like my book and read, but some of the scrolling happens while I'm like doing something else. And so I can't read while I'm doing something else. So that's also been a little bit of a struggle, but regardless, so far so good. I'm feeling good about all my goals and all the check marks on this page. So that's really exciting. All righty. Let's move in to the topic of the week. So when I made the plan for this month, and the plan was to talk about accountability, the videos made sense. Oh my gosh, there is a typo. Y'all, I need there to be spell check on this platform. I use a service called StreamYard. That's how I get like the pop-ups and all the things. And I love it. I think it's worth every penny that I pay to be able to have like my colors and whatnot. However, I need there to be spell check in these things because I mess up all the time. So when I made the plan for this month, the videos that I picked made sense to me. Why accountability, what like the tips, and then personal examples, like that made sense. But then when I went to actually outline this video, I realized that all of my goals were achieved because of accountability. There's not like, well, these goals were and these goals weren't. Like, even as somebody who is very self-motivated and very Like I can hold myself accountable. I still need accountability in some capacity. And if you want all the details, if you haven't watched last week's live, I highly recommend go back to that video. I go through so many tips and suggestions on how to actually hold yourself accountable. And I realized that I used all of those to achieve all my goals. Like I could, in this, like the title of this video, like goals I've achieved because of accountability, I could literally talk about any one of my goals and share how I used accountability in one of the reasons from last week, or one of the ways from last week to achieve that goal. But we only have an hour. So instead, I'm going to share 3 big personal examples, 3 big goals I've achieved personally and how I used accountability for those. Then I'm going to do 3 other goals that I've also done personally, but more so I'm going to talk about with suggestions. These were ones that I saw in the comments that you need help with for accountability. So, I want to read these comments really quick. By the way, if you ever read Outlander, the first book is 800 pages. Probably not. I tried to watch the show and it wasn't here for me. When I create things like StreamYard pop-ups, I put them in a Word doc and then copy and paste. Linda, that is a great suggestion. Thank you. That definitely helps. I wish StreamYard would just incorporate spell check, but that is helpful. Okay, let's talk about 3 big personal goals that I've achieved and which pieces of accountability I used to do that. So number 1, shouldn't really surprise anybody, was building a business to quit my full-time job. So if you are new here or you have no idea, this is my full-time job. I work for myself full-time as a personal goals coach, where my mission is to help you achieve your personal goals. I do that via my YouTube channel and my community and my goal planner. That's my business. But before that, I worked in corporate America. I was an actuary, and then I worked in product management. I worked at New York Life for 9 years, almost 10 if you include my internship. And that was my full-time income. And that was what I used to pay the bills while I built this job or this business. That was a huge goal. And there's a lot of components to that. And there's a lot of varying accountability. But what I will tell you, one of the number 1 ways that I made this possible was investing in expertise and investing in coaching and having business coaches help me along the way, because a lot of this was mindset work. I could do the work. I could do the steps. I could come up with the ideas. I could follow through. I could do those things. But breaking through like the mindset components, I needed an expert. I needed somebody to talk me through how to actually do that. So that was the number 1 level of accountability. However, some other forms of accountability that did not cost near as much money. HB90. I've talked about HB90 before. That is the project management system created by Sarah Cannon over on Heart Breathings. I'm saying that slowly because I know that sometimes when I talk about Sarah, I talk way too fast. And it's perfect timing because the HB90 for Q4 actually opens up in like a couple of days. This is the time of year that I signed up. And my only regret is that I didn't sign up sooner. I kept putting off HB90, waiting until I could do it live with everybody. And I wish that I hadn't done that. I wish that I had just signed up when I thought about it, like the first time, and then done it when it was convenient for me. But the first time that I did it was this time of year. That changed my life. Now, I'd already quit my full-time job when I started HB90. So did it really help me achieve this initial goal, like the quitting part? No, but it's helped me maintain it 100 million %. The other thing that has really held me accountable is all of you. And I didn't really talk about this as an example last week, but I wanted to talk about it this week. Sharing your goals with other people can be scary, but when you talk about it, that is a layer of accountability. You're telling people like, I am doing this, and then you have to do it. So that is another option that I didn't talk about last week. All right, the next personal goal that I achieved. Now, this is also these timelines are not like recent goals. So this was a goal that I achieved in 21. I lost, well, from January of 21 to the wedding, which was March of 22, I lost 30 pounds. This was a goal that I had set year after year. This was a goal that I kept carrying over, that I wanted to lose weight, and I kept putting it off. And then the world shut down, and mentally and emotionally, I really struggled, and that made it even more difficult. So similar to the business goal, the first way that I kicked off this goal was working with a nutritionist and having somebody help hold me accountable, somebody that I actually told them, here are all the things that I ate this week. Here's how much water I drank. Here are all the things that I did. That was most definitely a good Kickstarter for me. However, the other big way that this goal, like I held myself accountable to this goal, was focusing on the small steps. I talked last week about how you have got to build up your own confidence. Confidence is going to be key to following through and holding yourself accountable. And the best way to do that is by breaking the steps into smaller things that you can actually build your confidence on. So many times in my life, had I tried to go to the extreme, I tried to do the like no carb, I tried to do the no this, no that, 1200 all of those kinds of extreme things. And what I finally did instead was focus on the small swaps. I stopped putting sugar in my coffee. I started having a salad once a week for lunch. I started like the littlest changes held me accountable because I could actually do them. They were so small that it was like, of course you can do that. Like you can add another 100 steps. You can add another 5 minutes of working out. Whatever it was, the small steps is what added up and actually worked for me to achieve this particular goal. And then the last big personal one was packing and moving across the country. And I picked this one because I think it can be really hard for us to have personal goals with deadlines. We can set them, like we can set arbitrary deadlines for ourselves all day long, but it's hard. It's hard to actually stick with them. And so this was an example of a goal that not only did we have a deadline like that, we didn't have a choice because our lease was going to be up, but then I, booked the movers, like the movers were coming. And so we had to get packed. And so the accountability of a deadline is the way that this goal worked. Like it was the only way that I was getting these things done, especially going back to Brittany's comment. It was my first trimester and I was so exhausted and so nauseous, and packing was tough. Like I didn't want to do it, but there was a deadline and I didn't have a choice. And so this is easier said than done for some goals. Some goals, implementing a deadline is really tough, but if you can find a way to schedule something, whether it's, a cleaning service is coming to your house, so you need to get, have things decluttered, whether it's you are, the next example I thought of was decluttering and you're having a party. And so you need to clear things out, whatever it is, whatever the reason is that you need, you schedule something so that there is a deadline in place for you to stay accountable to the goal. Okay, now I'm going to do 3 examples for you, things that I have achieved. I mean, honestly, all 3 of these things could have been mine too. But they were the most common ones that I saw. Sorry, my nose is itchy. In the comments on the first week's video on accountability. So the first one is finances, budgeting, spending, that whole category. Another great resource, by the way, if you need actual action steps, I did a whole action step series. I've done 2 actually. I did one in 22 and one in 23, and they are both good in terms of like figuring out action steps for your goals. And finances were part of both of those. But when it comes to accountability, this one can be tough if nobody else is involved, if nobody else is looking at your finances. Now, so I'm going to talk about this in 2 scenarios. One scenario is somebody else involved, a spouse, a partner, significant other, etc. Part B is it's just you. So when you have somebody else, get them involved. like tell them I'm not going to spend more than X. And then you have to explain yourself when you do, right? Like part of it for us is more tracking our budget. And so I send a summary email to Sam, my husband, every month. Here's what we spent. Here was our income for both of our businesses. And here's what we spent last month. And here was our like net at the end of the day. And that level, like knowing that I'm going to share that with him, not only keeps me tracking our finances, but also makes me second guess things when I'm going to spend on something. Because then I'm going to be like, oh, this category, has this big number. And, am I going to be excited to share that with them at the end of the month? If you are alone, is there somebody that you could share that with? Do you have a friend? It's so unfortunate. Money is such a topic that people are so shy about talking about, and understandably, that's just how it's been. And it's just like taboo to like talk about money. Can you find a friend, a family member, somebody that you can have a conversation with and be like, I am going to share my spending with you, or I'm going to tell you at the end of the month what my net balance is. Whatever it is that you're working towards, I'm going to tell you how much debt I paid off this last month, and share that with other people. It's going to be really helpful. The other accountability suggestion I have for this goal is you have got to be clear. This goes into the tip about knowing why this goal is important to you. What are you doing with that extra money at the end of the month? What is the job of that money, right? So you have your income and your expenses, and then the ultimate goal is that number at the end of that is positive. If it is negative, then that's a whole nother conversation. But the positive, when it's positive, what are you doing with that? Are you saving for a down payment? Plaster pictures of the house everywhere. Are you saving for your kids' college fund? Remind yourself, what is that extra money going towards? And have a purpose. Have a purpose for that extra money at the end of the month. Have it going towards something important. Have it mean something besides just like, oh, I'm saving. Well, what are you saving for? Where is it? Or are you paying down debt? Have a debt like tracker? Tracking in general visually is a really good accountability for this goal as well. The next one was routines. I saw this one a lot, and we did all routines last month. Every video from July and even the first one in August from the lives were all about routines. So if this is something that you are still struggling with, go rewatch those. And the big summary is that one step at a time. For me, I think the best accountability, well, see, that's just it. I was trying to make this about you, this section, not about me. There's a lot of different of those accountability tools from last week that I talked about that you can apply to routines. You could track, you can, you've got to know why it's important. You've got to have it be what it means to you, building up your confidence, having it be small, pulling other people in. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you, I looked as if Sam could like hear me. He doesn't even watch my videos, y'all. He is working on getting up earlier and working on a morning routine. And so guess who's waking him up every day? It's not his alarm. Pull somebody in, pull somebody else in, somebody that you're going to text when you wake up in the morning, or you're going to text when you brush your teeth at night, or you're going to text, or you're going to share XYZ. Pull somebody in to help you with that routine. That whole section last week on your friends and family, I promise you could probably pull somebody in to help you with whatever routine it is that you're working on. And then the last one is reading. And this is not only a very common goal that a lot of you said down in the comments, but obviously something that I've worked on too. For me, reading and accountability comes down to what's the purpose behind the book that I'm reading? When am I going to be reading? And does that make the most sense for my life right now as it stands? And then tracking. Being able to check those books off on Goodreads and see those little fireworks when I hit my goal, it's huge. It's like, it's the biggest serotonin boost ever. It is serotonin? Is that the right one? Or is it adrenaline? I don't know. Regardless, reading, tracking, and being able to see the progress that you're making while reading, to me, has always been the best accountability tool. But you could also pull other people in on this one too. You can have a book club that you have with people and that you share. You could start sharing your reading things on your social media. There is a girl that I grew up dancing with who started, it's actually kind of amazing. She started sharing her reading, like her books on her personal Instagram. And then people started following her that weren't like friends and family. And so then she turned it into like a public Instagram. And now she like gets to go like all kinds of cool opportunities. She's like a book influencer. Is that a word? I know what like book talk is a thing. She does it on Instagram. Regardless, it is very cool. But my guess is she didn't start that with that end goal in mind. It started as an accountability tool to read and to share what she was reading. All of the pulling people in and sharing pieces of accountability, I understand that it can be so scary. It can be so intimidating and like, nobody's going to want to help me. Nobody is, what if I don't do it? That fear has to be less important than you actually doing that goal. What is that quote? I was trying to remember what that quote was. I know it's from the Princess Diaries, but I know that whoever said it had nothing to do with the Princess Diaries, but it's courage is not the absence of fear, but rather that, what is it? That something is more important. It's something I'm for sure messing it up. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather something like the knowledge that something else is more important. If any of those accountability things that we talked about last week scares you, go back to the why and remind yourself that you achieving that goal is more important than the fear. So I know I said last week that a great tool for accountability is to join the community. And that is true. I still stand by that. I did not talk about that at all. Well, I guess I did a little bit talking about how you are my accountability. But one thing I want to tell you about the community that I wasn't ready to share last week because it wasn't almost done. And now it's actually almost done. Like it will be done today, is the Revamped replay library. So I am so excited about this, y'all. First off, the Goals to Laken community has existed for over 4 years. I missed our 4-year celebration. Next year, I need to remember. Actually, I'm going to write that down right now that I don't forget to do something big for 5 years. But in our new format on Teachable, there are hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of old calls. But when somebody joins, or even a current member goes back to look at those calls, it can be so overwhelming, so overwhelming. So I finally decided to do something about that. So with the help of my VA, we have been going back, taking every call from we started with March of 2023. That's when we started on Teachable. That was our current format. And we took we cut up the calls into chunks and took every Q&A, every hot seat, every teaching section that I did. And instead of having it sorted by date, we chunked it up to break it down by category. And these are the categories that we have ended up with. I didn't make these categories to begin with. I just was like, we're going to see how things shake out. And these are the categories that we have ended up with. We have one more month to do today. And then once we do that month, it'll be done. And I'm going to click on, and you're going to be able to see that. Community members are going to be able to access this. And I'm so excited because I think this is so much more helpful for you to be able to go back and have as a resource versus the way that it was set up before. So, yeah, I'm like looking at this and I'm just so proud of it. There's over 150 videos. Some of them, they range anywhere from 2 minutes. Like I talked about something for 2 minutes to 30 minutes. Some of the hot seat calls are closer to 30 minutes. But they're sorted by topic. So you only have to watch the ones that are helpful for you. And I'm just so excited about it. So this will be live either later today or tomorrow. It depends. Like I said, I have plans with my family tonight. So I may not get to it today, but at the latest tomorrow, it's going to be toggled on and all these videos will be up. So I'm really, really pumped about that. And I wanted to share that with you. Oh, I had a little pop-up for it that I forgot to use. So, okay. Any questions, comments, concerns on the topic before we move on? Thank you. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. Yes. But there's this. My desire has always been bigger than my fear. Dolly Parton. I love it. Any questions, comments? Perfect timing. I do have 2 pre-submitted questions though, before we move into general questions. Okay. So, they are both related. They are 2 separate questions. They were actually from 2 lives. One was from 2 ago and one was from last week, but they are kind of related in some capacity, which is cool. So the first one is, how much time do you devote to your goals each day? I've been doing goals of things like read more, and then I go read for N minutes and N days a week. And I think I have done more than I thought I would, but I don't know. I don't need to know necessarily, but then how do I know if I'm doing the goal right? First off, there's a lot of questions part of this. But the first thing I need to say is there's no such thing as doing right. There's no right or wrong. Now, if you meant goal, comma, right, like, am I doing the goal right? That's a different question. But I want to make sure that if you meant doing the goal correctly, there's no right or wrong when it comes to goals. Now, when it comes to how to decide how much time, this is going to be very dependent on a lot of different factors. How much time do you have to dedicate to your goals each day? And within that, what do you want to be spending that time on? Is it things like reading? Are there other goals? The number of setting like a numerical goal like this for reading, the number of minutes, number of days per week, there is no like, how do I say this? There isn't like a formula that I can give you to help you decide how much time that you would devote. It's what is worth it to you. Everybody has a different schedule. Everybody has different free time. Everybody has different ultimate goals. But what I would tell you is just make sure that your goals line up. So if you have a goal to read 50 books in a year, that breaks down to about 30 minutes a day. That number that I pull out is based on average book length and average reading speed. Now, first off, we were just talking earlier about like 800-page books. That's not average. And you might be a faster or a slower reader than the average according to Google. So if you just making sure that those 2 things line up. If you want to read 50 books a year, then finding 30 minutes a day on average to read is what you're going to need to do in order to achieve that. If you don't have 30 minutes a day, or you don't want to spend 30 minutes a day reading because you want to spend it on other goals as well, then you need to lower your overall goal. But there is no right or wrong. The other thing I want to say on this is every day doesn't have to look the same. I think we can get really caught up in we have to be working on our goals every single day in order to be successful. And that's not necessarily the case. It can be helpful, it can be beneficial, but it's not necessarily the case. And it doesn't have to look the same every single day. I don't read the same amount every day, not even close. I try to read at least one fiction chapter. Why do I always struggle to think about fiction, nonfiction, you guys? I try to read one fiction chapter at night. Like when I get in bed, I'm like, read one. And sometimes it's like one 5-minute chapter. And then sometimes, depending on the time I get in bed and how tired I am, I could read for 30 minutes. It's not consistent every single night, but I try to make sure that I read every night. That for me is the goal, but the number of minutes would not be the goal. Nonfiction, it's not even close to consistent. Some days it's 0 and some days it's like 3 hours, and it very much varies. But the deciding piece really depends on what you're trying to achieve and how many books you're trying to read and if it's worth it to you. Now, in terms of tracking, this is also up to you. I know this is probably you want me to give you maybe not the person who asked the question, but like in general, because I've been there, you want the person whose video you're watching to be like, do this, concrete. And that's just not the case. So if tracking, you say you think you've done more than you thought you would, but you don't know. If you don't care to know, then don't track it. I don't necessarily track the number of minutes or sessions that I read because I don't need to know either. I just track when I finish the book. Like that's the number of books is important to me. If you want to know, or to relate it back to the topic, if tracking would hold you accountable to reading, track it all day long, but you don't have to in order to be successful. So hopefully that was helpful. I know it can be, again, it can be annoying when I'm like, it's up to you. The answers are all up to you, but they truthfully are. And you might have to do some trial and error to figure out what works best for you and your goals. But there is no right answer. Okay. The next question, again, somewhat similar because it's on the same track of goals that are not, that are more for fun. But it was, can you share how you motivate yourself to pursue your piano goals? I'm really into watercolor, but it's just for fun. So my other goals, which are more related to work or social benefits, often end up taking over the time I set aside for watercolor. I guess my question is a bit more philosophical. How do you convince yourself to set a goal that's purely for fun and not productive at all? Oh, there's so much to unpack in this. Yes, somewhat philosophical, but there's also some practical components to it as well. The first thing that is the most important thing I want you to remember: it is okay to have goals that are purely for fun. It is okay to have goals that are just because they make you happy. That is productive. So this goal is not that it's not productive. It is productive. The productive aspect is that it brings you joy and it makes you happy. That makes it productive. And even if it feels like, well, I don't need to be setting a goal for something that's fun, we're bad at prioritizing fun. We are bad at prioritizing things just because they make us happy. That is just the society that we've developed into, is that it's like it needs to be productive and working, or like it's not worth it. And that is just not true. The more that you spend time doing things that make you happy, the better you're going to be at those other things. Sarah Cannon has also been talking about this a lot this year. The more time she talks about it playing, the more time she spends playing, whether that's playing video games with her husband, watching anime shows with him, reading for pleasure, doing things that are considered fun and play, makes her a better mom, wife, business owner, creative, author, all of the things. And this is true for you, the person who asked this question, and all of you. So for you, it's watercolor. For me, it's piano. And there's also other things. I mean, that's why I literally made a goal this quarter to focus on hobbies, because I know that when I do those things, I am a better, happier me. And I'm going to be better at all those other things. So the first thing is that philosophical aspect. And it's like deep down knowing that about yourself, or about goals, that you don't need to pick goals that are just productive or not fun or work or social benefits. This is a phrase that I've said a lot. I believe that we deserve to live a life that we love. And I believe goals are how we get there. And that very much includes goals that make you happy and that are for fun. Now, when it comes to actually motivating and following through, it's harder. It's sometimes harder, even though it's like something you're excited about, you have a harder time seeing the why on that goal. And so it is harder for you to be like, well, let me prioritize this. So a couple of things that have helped me with prioritizing the piano goal. First off, is always constantly reminding myself that the time I sit and spend at the piano, it brings me joy, it makes me happy, it calms me down. And all of those things help me be all of the things I said before. Now, number one is I don't try to do it in really long stints. So for watercolor, this might be a little bit harder. I don't know what your setup looks like and if you can leave it out, or if it takes time to set up and take down. That can be the problem sometimes with these more fun goals, is you need more time chunks. You need an hour to make it worth it. And if you can find a way to shrink that amount of time, that helps. I don't sit at the piano for more than 10 minutes at a time. Sometimes it's only 2 minutes, but it's rarely more than 10. And because it's easy for me, my piano book stays out. I don't put it away. The one I'm working on, it stays up, set up. I need to get a stand for it also, because when I'm in there's a window ledge right in front of our piano. And when I'm in the middle of the book, it like sits up nicely. When I'm on a song at the beginning or the end, it like topples over. Anyway. So all I have to do is like turn the keyboard on. That's the only barrier to entry for me starting. So step one is make your barrier to entry a lot smaller, and so that you can spend less time in any given sitting. The next thing is figuring out what that best time is for you. I used to think that in order for me to get the most benefit from one of these like fun enjoyment goals, my daughter needed to not be around. Like I needed to be focused strictly on me. And that isn't true, because honestly, when she's not around, that is the best time that I'm focused on these other goals, work goals, things that are more even just like using more brain power. She can 100% be in the room when I'm playing the piano. In fact, she loves when I play the piano. She will stand, like there's a like a shelf right next to it, and she'll like pull herself up and like stand and like listen to me while I play the piano. So finding the right time that makes sense. If you are constantly conflicted by wanting to do these other things, maybe the time that you're setting aside for this fun goal is not the right time for that fun goal. And it took some playing around, by the way. Like this wasn't like I didn't just wake up and realize that this was the right time to work on piano. Like I had to figure out what makes the most sense to work on the piano. So that's part of it as well, is figuring out that time. I think the last thing I will say on this is you've all heard me say this before. Motivation is really hard to find and even harder to keep. What you really need is momentum. And momentum comes from getting started and taking action. And so what you might find is that if you can just start, just kickstart it, that momentum is going to keep you going. And that is what happened to me with piano. It took me a long time. Okay. We drove this keyboard back from Houston, April of 2023. And I didn't sit down to start playing it until July of 2024. It felt like this big thing, this like big overarching scary thing that I was never going to have time to do. And when I finally started, the momentum kept me going. Part of it because it was just like riding a bike, and except my left hand doesn't seem to remember near as much as my right hand. But once that momentum started flowing, I was able to keep up with it more. And it was easier. And it wasn't about motivating myself. It was about practically making it small, finding the right time to do it, and then riding that momentum wave. So hopefully that was helpful for the people that submitted the questions. I did not realize I was going to spend this much time talking. We're already 45 minutes in, y'all. Okay, it's your turn. The last 45 minutes. Where is the question pop up? Q&A time. Feel free to ask anything, whatever's on your mind. It can be about your individual goals or struggles. It can be about any kind of topic. If you don't know how to phrase it into a question, just put topic, whatever's on your mind. And obviously, if you're watching the replay, please comment a question. And sometimes when you comment a question, it's simple enough that I can just type out a quick answer for you. But like these, if I feel like I needed more time to give you a proper answer, I'm going to talk about it on the live. So replay fam, you are also welcome to comment. Okay. Listening to my mom play the piano growing up is one of my core memories. Not a piano player myself, but always loved to hear her play. Okay, well, now that I'm tearing up, thank you. That was very helpful. I think that also is important, is the why, to the person who asked the question, like, why is watercolor important to you? And to be honest, this wasn't one of my whys, but it could turn into that. Like first off, she just loves music in general and like dancing. I wonder where she gets that from. And so she loves to listen to me play for that purpose. And so right now I play for me. I'm not necessarily playing for her. In a roundabout way, I'm playing for her because I know that playing for me makes me a better mom for her, but I'm playing for me. But maybe someday I'll play for her. and play songs that she wants to listen to. Right now I'm playing a Disney book. I bought I think I said this in somewhere, but in case I didn't, one of my best friends owns a music lesson company. Shout out if you are in the Chicagoland area and you have somebody who needs lessons, a kid or an adult. Lessons by Brooke, shout out. And so I asked her for a recommendation. I was like, where do I start? Like, what music do I start with? Where do I start? And she recommended a specific brand and what level she expected me to be at, given how many years I played and the fact that I haven't played in over a decade. And so I ordered a Disney songs from that company and that brand, and it's been perfect, like absolutely perfect for me. So I'm like basically just working through the book until I feel pretty confident with a song, and I move on to the next one. But then sometimes I go back. And the only song I have skipped in the book, I've done them all at least once, except it's like the song "Merry Christmas, Everyone." Like, it's a Christmas song. But oh my gosh, I cannot wait to play Christmas music now. That was always one of my favorite times of year to play piano too. It was like the holidays. Oh, y'all just got so excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm taking lessons through an app on my phone. I've improved so much. But now every time I get on, I think about how baby can hear too. Yeah, your little baby has ears. I tried the app thing and it just didn't work for me. Again, trial and error. I tried it. And then I did it like the free trial. And then when it was going to charge me, I was like, I don't think this is for me. But I tried the app. I forget what it's called. And it wasn't anything against the app. And maybe I just, Simply Piano. That's the one I tried too. And maybe I just didn't, put the right level, but what I was doing was way too simple. And so I was kind of bored with it. So I just went back to my piano book, but I did try. Okay. Did you get what you wanted from December Daily? Hi, Lisa. It's good to see your name. One of the people I always message back and forth about December Daily. Yes. Did I get what I wanted and then some? Yes. Mostly I'm excited about the cup that's like this, but with Christmas trees on it. I'm really excited because I just think that pattern is so cute. The Christmas tree pattern. By the way, if you have no idea what we're talking about, December Daily is a scrapbooking memory keeping project by Allie Edwards. And where you document one thing every day in the month of December. And I did it 4 years in a row, and it was great. Last year was the first year. Look, there's another question about December Daily. Yes. Last year was the first year that I didn't finish it, but my plan is to finish it in November and then be prepared for December. And I'm very excited. I shared on Instagram what I ordered, but what I will verbally tell you, I decided not to get the main kit. It's a really good deal, but I just have still so much stuff left over. And there was so much in there that I didn't think I was going to use. So I decided to just not get the main kit and get some excess or some just other embellishments. So I got the Christmas tree album. I got the die cut pack. I always get the 6x8 vellum inserts. I just love the way that those look. I did get the specialty paper or specialty journal cards. And then the cup. I just thought that Christmas tree pattern was so cute. And then when I saw the version in the main kit of the paper with the colorful version, like it was very tempting just to have that piece of paper. But then when I saw it on the cup, I was like, well, that will last forever. So I'm going to go ahead and just do it here. I feel like I got something else and now I can't remember. Oh, I got the 6x8 page attacher whole things because I got 6 things. The album. Yeah, I think that's it. Who knows? We'll see if they're doing some cool sales, upcoming sales that other things might hop into my cart. But what I really need to do is organize my supplies. Spoiler alert, one of my Q4 goals is going to be December Daily. And spoiler alert, the breakdown is going to be October, organize supplies, November, finish 2023, and then December, do 2024. Like, that's the breakdown. That's what it's going to be. So I'm excited about it. super pumped. Okay. I want to use your planner next year, but I don't have a printer. Do you think I could purchase it and just copy into a notebook the pages I need to use? Sarah, you absolutely could do that. 100% you could do that. Another option is sending it to somewhere like FedEx or UPS or Office Max and having them print it for you. That's also an option if you don't own a printer. To be honest, I send things when I want something printed nicer anyways. Like we're printing stuff for Lila's birthday party, and I've been sending the manager at FedEx. They're absolutely hilarious. And every time I walk in, they're like, "You're back." I think I've gone 4 times to get things printed for Lila's birthday party. And so yeah, you could also do that, but you could absolutely just copy the questions into a notebook page. Totally. I think the hardest part the hardest page for you to recreate would be this page. I think everything else is like questions and journaling, right? And you could totally do it in a notebook. I think this page would be hard to recreate in a notebook, but what you could do, a couple options. One, you could just send this one page to FedEx, Office Max, UPS, and get it printed, and it would be less expensive than getting the whole thing. Number 2 is you could do this digitally somehow on an iPad, on your phone, and just like kind of check it off and like type things in, and do it that way. But that's the only page I think that would be really hard. So, all right. I think I'm all caught up. Any other questions? Anything else on your mind? This coffee is so good, y'all. I spent so much time talking today, I barely made a dent in it. Anything else on your mind? Oh yeah, libraries have printers too, usually less expensive if it's only a few pages. That's a good suggestion too. I always forget about that. That libraries also typically have printers. I was going to say something else. No, in my mind just forgot what it was. It was something about the library. I don't know. We need to go back to the library. Has anybody ever checked out children's books from the library? I know they have them. I understand that. Do I need to wait until my daughter is out of the destroying phase? Because she literally just destroyed a book the other day, like one of our books. And I'm like, I feel like we're not ready yet to get library books. I feel like she's not quite there. When do we get there? When can we? But like, I feel like it would be fun. I mean, to be totally honest, she doesn't care that we keep rereading the books. I'm sick of some of the books. Like, here we are. We're approaching a year. I'm bored. Yeah, when they were like 3, 4. Okay, that makes sense. They usually have board books. Okay. Well, she can't destroy board books. Although, I mean, she does try to eat them. Board books in their own basket to be used together. Krista, that's a great suggestion. The library books are not the free-for-all. Lila gets to play with them whenever she wants books. And by play with them, you mean pull them all off the shelf. That's the new game. Is she takes all the books off the shelf. Yeah, no, you're right. Library books go in their own basket. Yeah, we need to go check it out. They have a lot of good choices with pages you can't destroy, especially big libraries. The Chicago Public Library is obviously like a big library network. The branch that's near our apartment, like in our neighborhood, is not huge. But it's not super small, but it's not huge. So, but to be honest, I haven't looked in the kids section. So the only time I went was to go get my library card because I just read everything on my Kindle. My girls are 13 and 9 and they still go in a separate place so we don't lose them. That is also a good point. I feel like I can see the fees racking up now. Oh my goodness. I'm clicking on all the wrong ones. They will rotate books too. Oh, that's cool. Usually they can order in books from the other branches' local libraries. Oh, that's true. And well, that's if you like put them on hold. I used to do that in New York. When I would read the physical copy of books is I would place things on hold, but then have them at my branch in my neighborhood. But I mean, I feel like for kids' books, we would just go browse and look at what they have and just pick stuff out that they have. I miss having a big library for kids. Storytime was so fun. Yeah, check out the programs they offer. I have. They only, for her age group, they only really have one option, and it's like right in the middle of her nap time, which is just unfortunate. Most of the stuff they have is for older kids. So someday we'll be able to go do the things in the library. But for now, it's mostly, there's only one that's like little. Also for reading books, I did watch with our baby little YouTube channels that read to kids. But sometimes I didn't want to read the same book over and over again. I didn't realize that was a thing. No, this is a judgment-free zone. That's really cool. And also sometimes, I mean, again, maybe I'm the one that's going to get judged. Sometimes you just need 5 minutes. That's amazing. Cool. Yeah, I for sure am going to check that out. Because yeah, I'm already sick of the books. Sometimes the authors read their book. Oh, that's so cool. And it's also, and it's like, I'm sick of the books, but we also have so many that I'm like, I don't feel like people need to get her any more books, but like, I want some new books. It's hard. I have a feeling it's about to be an influx though for her birthday. Okay. Wow. Y'all, we are almost out of time. The time flies when you're having fun. Let's make sure we have time for our final question that I want to ask you. And that is, what is the one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What's the one step you're going to take this week to make sure that you're all set up for success? If it's not already, maybe it's setting up your goals for September, getting your September goals all situated. Community members, the workshop is there for you to go back and watch to get your September goals all set up. Maybe that's your one thing. My one thing is kind of goal related, but not really. And that is just to enjoy the weekend. We have lots of friends and family coming in from out of town to celebrate our 1-year-old. Y'all, I can't believe that she is 1. Getting set up for September. Oh yeah, Christmas books. That's a great idea. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. My grandson loves the YouTube channel, Miss Rachel. We have not dipped our toes into Miss Rachel yet, but I do know who Miss Rachel is. Sam actually knows Miss Rachel. She's originally from the Broadway industry, and he knows her from his days in the Broadway industry, which is so cool. She's such a big deal now. It's so crazy. Started classes this week at college, trying to start off great. You've got this. Congrats. That's so exciting. Pausing to celebrate. Your birthday is on Saturday. One of my best friends, her birthday is on Saturday. And then Lila's obviously on Sunday. There was a time when I thought Lila and Rihanna were going to be birthday twins. Happy early birthday, Lisa. I hope you have a great weekend. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.